My name is Daniel, I'm 32, and if there's one thing I've learned, it's that family can wound you in ways no stranger ever could. My twin brother, Aaron, is living proof of that. He may share my face, my DNA, even my birthday, but everything else about us couldn't be more different. Where I grew quiet, careful, and disciplined, he grew cruel, manipulative, and violent. Growing up, he made my life a war zone. He'd shove me into walls when no one was looking, whisper poison into my friends' ears to turn them against me, and lie with the kind of conviction that made teachers believe I was the troublemaker. And our parents, they always looked the other way. Boys will be boys, Mom used to say while dabbing at Aaron's fake tears. Dad would shake his head at me instead, muttering, "Don't provoke him, Daniel. Just let it go. Let it go." That phrase has haunted me like a chain around my neck. But I couldn't just let it go. Not when bruises bloomed on my arms, not when Aaron cornered me in the garage one night at 15 and hissed, "No one will ever believe you. They love me, not you." He was right. No matter what I said, my family circled the wagons around him. I was the sensitive one, the serious one, the brother who held grudges. He was the golden child wrapped in thorns, and they adored him even when his thorns drew blood. That's why I left. At 20, I packed a duffel bag, shoved every ounce of bitterness into a tight box inside my chest, and walked out of that house. I put myself through college, found work, built a life with distance between me and the chaos. For 12 years, I barely looked back. Birthdays, holidays, even funerals, I skipped them all. My peace was worth the price of isolation. At least, until last week. It started with a phone call from my sister, Emily. Out of all of them, she was the one I stayed faintly connected to. Not close, we hadn't been close since we were kids, but she was the only one who reached out now and then. A check-in text at Christmas, a like on some forgotten Facebook post. Enough to remind me she existed, not enough to rebuild trust. When her name lit up my phone, I almost didn't answer. But I did. "Danny," she said, voice warm but nervous. "I want to invite you to dinner. Just us. Well, us and Aaron." I went silent so long she started babbling. "Look, I know what you're thinking, but it's been years. People change. He's not the same anymore. He's been better, calmer. I think it's time, don't you? To just move forward. Move forward." Another cursed phrase. I laughed, but it came out flat and sharp. "Emily, he broke me. Do you get that? Every time I let him in, he tore me apart. Why on earth would I sit across a table from him?" "Because he's your brother," she said softly. "And because I'm asking you. Just one dinner. For me." That was the hook, the guilt card. She knew I still carried that little brother instinct to protect her, even when she didn't deserve it. I swallowed hard, staring at the cracks in my ceiling. Part of me wanted to hang up, to block her number, to go on pretending they didn't exist. But another part, the wounded child inside me who had never gotten an apology, whispered, "Go. See for yourself. Maybe it'll be different." So I agreed. Against every warning bell in my head, I said, "Fine. One dinner." The night came faster than I expected. I stood outside Emily's house, hands clammy, pulse racing, staring at the warm glow of the dining room window. I could hear voices drifting through, hers, bright and hopeful, and his. That same laugh, sharp and smug, like a knife being sharpened on stone. I tightened my jaw, stepped up to the door, and knocked. The sound of footsteps echoed closer. The door handle turned. And there he was. Aaron. My mirror image, older but still carrying that smirk that had haunted my childhood nightmares. "Danny boy," he drawled, arms open wide like a parody of affection. "Long time no see." The air between us tightened like a tripwire. I forced a smile that didn't touch my eyes and stepped inside. I didn't know then that Emily's choice would set off a chain of events none of us could undo. The smell of roasted chicken and garlic butter hit me as soon as I stepped inside. Emily had gone all out, candles on the table, fresh flowers in a vase, soft music playing from the corner speaker. She was standing there in a pale blue dress, her smile a little too wide, her hands wringing together like she was hosting a peace summit instead of a family dinner. "Danny," she said, rushing forward to hug me. "I'm so glad you came." I let her embrace me, stiff at first, then softer when I realized she was trembling. She pulled back quickly, glancing between me and Aaron as though waiting for a spark to catch fire. Aaron clapped me on the shoulder with fake warmth. "Look at you, man. All grown up. Suit jacket, nice shoes. Guess somebody made something of himself, huh?" I said nothing. Just stepped past him, my jaw tight. He always had a way of twisting compliments into digs. The table was set for 3. Emily ushered us to sit, her voice a little too bright. "Come on, let's eat before it gets cold." I sat at one end, Emily in the middle, Aaron at the other end, like he was king of the table. He leaned back in his chair, arms spread, grin plastered across his face as if he owned the room. "So," Emily began, forcing cheer into her tone, "tell me about your work, Danny. Still with the firm?" "Yeah," I said simply. "Been steady." Aaron smirked. "Steady. That's Danny for you. Always the boring one." I shot him a look, but Emily jumped in quickly. "He's reliable. That's a good thing." "Reliable, boring, same difference," Aaron said, reaching for the breadbasket. He tore a piece in half, crumbs scattering, then shoved it into his mouth with exaggerated flair. "Meanwhile, I've been branching out. Starting a few ventures. Got some investors interested. Things are looking up." I almost laughed. I knew Aaron's ventures usually meant scams, half-baked schemes, or favors he'd conned out of someone. But I bit my tongue. No use feeding the fire. Emily poured us wine, her hand shaking slightly as she filled my glass. She looked at me with pleading eyes, as if to say, "Please, just get through this." We ate in silence for a while. The chicken was good, though I barely tasted it. Every bite felt heavy, forced. Aaron filled the quiet with his stories, exaggerated tales about people he knew, deals he closed, opportunities he was lining up. Emily laughed too loudly at all of it, but her eyes kept darting to me, gauging my reactions. Finally, Aaron leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table. "You know what's funny, Danny? You always acted like you were better than me. All those years, nose in a book, thinking you'd escape. But look at us now, we're both here, same table, same blood. Can't outrun that, can you?" The words sank heavy, poisonous. Emily set her fork down with a sharp clink. "Aaron, stop. This dinner isn't about digging up the past. It's about moving forward." He smirked. "Sure. Moving forward. Just pointing out facts." I finally spoke, my voice low, steady. "A fact is something that can be proven. Everything else is just noise." For a moment, silence stretched across the table. Aaron's grin flickered, then hardened into something darker. Emily's eyes flashed between us, her fingers tightening around her glass. She forced a laugh that cracked at the edges. "Let's not do this. Please. Just one dinner. Can't we have that?" I leaned back in my chair, folding my arms. That depends on him. Aaron raised his glass, smirk returning. To family, he said. I didn't lift my glass. Emily did, though her hand trembled. To family, she whispered. The crystal clink echoed, thin and hollow, like a warning bell before a storm. The wine barely touched my lips, but Aaron had already downed half his glass. He poured himself another without asking, sloshing some onto the tablecloth. Emily flinched but said nothing, just dabbed at the spill with a napkin like it was normal. He leaned back, swirling the glass lazily. You know, Danny, it's funny. You always thought I was the problem. But you're the one who ran away, aren't you? Left Emily, left Mom and Dad, left me to pick up the pieces. I froze. Pick up the pieces? My voice was steady, but my chest burned. Aaron smirked. Yeah. Someone had to be there when you bailed. Guess who it was? Me. The so-called abusive twin. Meanwhile, you were out building your perfect little life, acting like you were too good for the rest of us. Emily stiffened. Aaron. No, let him finish. I cut in. My pulse hammered, but I wasn't going to let him rewrite history. Picking up the pieces? You mean blowing through Dad's savings? Screaming at Mom until she cried? Getting arrested twice and making Emily lie to cover for you? Emily's fork slipped, clattering onto her plate. Her eyes darted to Aaron, then to me, like she'd been caught between two fires. Aaron chuckled darkly. Man, you've got a real talent for dramatics. I wasn't arrested, I was detained. Big difference. And Emily volunteered to help. Didn't you, Em? Her lips parted, but no words came out. Aaron's grin widened. See. She knows. She's always been on my side. I turned to Emily, my voice sharper than I intended. Is that true? You invited me here just to play backup for him. Her face crumpled. No, Danny. I just thought. She stopped herself, pressing her hands flat on the table. I thought maybe if you both sat down, if we just had one normal night, we could find some middle ground. Middle ground. I laughed bitterly. There is no middle ground with him. He takes, he lies, he breaks, and then he smiles like nothing happened. That's the only ground he knows. Aaron's smile thinned into something cold. Careful, brother. You're talking to family. Family doesn't do what you did to me, I snapped. The air went heavy, thick enough to choke on. Emily's eyes shone with tears. She reached for her wine glass but set it down untouched, her hands shaking too much to hold it. Aaron broke the silence with a low chuckle. You really haven't changed, have you? Still the victim, still whining about the past. You think because you've got a fancy job and a decent suit you're better than me? Newsflash, Danny, you're nothing without this family. And deep down, you know it. My chair scraped against the floor as I pushed back. I didn't yell, didn't raise my fist, just stood tall and met his eyes. I'd rather be nothing than what you are. Aaron's grin faltered. Emily's breath caught like a sob she was too afraid to release. For the first time all evening, Aaron didn't have a comeback. He just sat there, swirling his wine, jaw tight, eyes dark. And that was when I realized, Emily was starting to see him, not the charming brother she remembered, but the man he'd become. The silence stretched. The music in the corner drifted on, soft and mocking. Finally, Emily whispered, "What have I done?" Emily's whisper hung in the air like smoke. Her knuckles were white around her napkin, her eyes darting between us as if she could will the tension away. But it was too late, the storm had already started. Aaron set his glass down with a sharp thud, the fake smile gone. "What have you done?" he repeated, voice dripping with mockery. "You mean what he's done? He's always been the one tearing this family apart." I folded my arms. Funny. I don't remember holding knives to anyone's throat, or threatening to burn the house down when I didn't get my way. Emily's breath hitched. "Daniel." Aaron leaned forward, eyes locked on me, cold and hungry. "You've got a real gift for exaggeration. But sure, keep spinning your little sob story. I'm the monster, you're the martyr. Classic Danny." His voice sharpened. "But you're forgetting something. Mom and Dad still call me. They still ask me for help. You know why? Because I show up. You don't." The laugh that tore out of me was sharp and bitter. "Help? Is that what you call it? Leeching off them until their credit cards max out? Borrowing cars, never returning them? You didn't help, Aaron. You hollowed them out." Emily flinched like I'd slapped her. She stared down at her plate, whispering, "Stop, please." But Aaron ignored her. He was locked on me, eyes glinting. "At least I stayed. You ran the second you had the chance. Who's the coward now?" I leaned in, voice low. "I didn't run. I escaped." That landed. His jaw clenched, the vein in his temple pulsing. For a second, I thought he might lunge across the table. Instead, he gripped the edge so hard the wood creaked. Emily pushed back her chair suddenly, the scrape loud and desperate. "Enough. Both of you." She stood, hands trembling, chest heaving. "This isn't why I invited you here. I thought maybe time had healed something. I thought we could sit here like adults." Aaron barked a laugh, harsh and humorless. "Adults? You think he's an adult? Look at him. Still whining, still hiding behind his martyr act." I stayed quiet this time. Not because I had nothing to say, but because for the first time all night, I could see the cracks forming in Emily's belief. She looked at Aaron like she was really seeing him, not the brother she'd idolized, but the bully sitting at her table, sneering like he owned the world. "Aaron," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Stop." But Aaron didn't stop. He never did. He leaned back, smirk returning in cruel triumph. "Face it, Em. I'm the only brother you've got. And whether he likes it or not, I'm not going anywhere." Her hands shook so badly the wine glass toppled, crimson liquid spilling across the white tablecloth like blood. Aaron just laughed. And in that moment, I knew, this dinner wasn't going to end with words. The wine bled across the table like a spreading wound, soaking into the linen. Emily scrambled for napkins, her hands frantic, her voice tight. It's fine, I'll clean it." Aaron leaned back in his chair, watching her panic with a cruel little grin. "Relax, Em. It's just a tablecloth. What's the big deal?" But it wasn't about the tablecloth. I could see it in her face, the way her lips pressed thin, the way her chest rose too fast. She was starting to see what I'd seen for years, the way Aaron thrived on chaos, how he made messes just to watch someone else clean them up. "Sit down," she muttered, her voice brittle. Aaron ignored her. He stood, grabbed the bottle, and poured himself another glass, the liquid sloshing over the rim onto the floor. "To family," he barked, raising it high before gulping half. Red streaked down his chin like blood. I stayed silent, watching. Not because I was afraid, those days were over, but because I wanted Emily to see. Really see. "Daniel," Aaron said suddenly, slamming the glass down. "Remember that night in the garage? You cried so hard, I thought you'd choke. Begged me to stop. What was it you said again? My stomach dropped, but my face stayed stone. Don't. He grinned wider. Oh, that's right, you said. Please don't tell Mom, she won't believe me. Emily's head snapped toward me. Her face went pale. What is he talking about? I didn't answer. The air was heavy enough to choke on. Aaron laughed, loud and vicious. He was always weak. Always begging. And you, he jabbed a finger at Emily. You worshipped me. Don't deny it. You always defended me. You thought I could do no wrong. Her chair scraped back. Stop it, Aaron. Her voice shook now, but her eyes were filling with something new. Not hope. Not nostalgia. Fear. Or what? He sneered, stepping closer. You'll kick me out of my own sister's house? It's my house, she snapped, louder this time. That stopped him for half a second. His grin faltered, then twisted into something meaner. You think you're better than me now? Because you've got a little mortgage and a dinner table. Emily's hands trembled as she pushed past him, grabbing plates, stacking them too quickly, trying to end the night before it spiraled further. But Aaron wasn't finished. He never was. He leaned across the table toward me, his breath hot with wine. You always thought running away made you free. But here you are, back at the table. Back under my shadow. I stared at him, calm, unflinching. Not your shadow. Not anymore. Emily dropped a plate, the shatter echoing through the room. She froze, chest heaving, eyes wide. For the first time since I'd arrived, I saw her truly shaken, not just annoyed or tired, but terrified of what she'd invited into her home. And Aaron, drunk on power, just smiled wider. The shards of the broken plate glittered on the floor like tiny knives. Emily crouched quickly, hands shaking as she tried to gather them before someone got hurt. Aaron didn't move to help. He just stood there, swaying slightly, sipping the last of his wine like it was a show put on for him. Careful, Em, he drawled. Wouldn't want to cut yourself. Blood's hard to get out of carpet. Emily flinched at his tone. I saw it. The way her shoulders hunched, the way her eyes refused to meet his. She was finally starting to feel what I had lived with for years, the constant threat disguised as a joke. Sit down, I said, my voice low but steady. Aaron's gaze snapped to me, his smirk twisting into something sharper. You don't tell me what to do. But Emily surprised us both. She stood abruptly, clutching the pieces of the plate in her hands, and hissed, Aaron, sit down. Now. The words cracked through the air, trembling but firm. For a second, the room froze. Then Aaron laughed. Not a normal laugh, loud, cruel, jagged. There she is. The little sister who used to follow me around like a puppy, finally growing a spine. He stepped closer, pointing a finger at her chest. But don't forget who taught you how to fight. Who taught you how to lie. You wouldn't last a day without me. Emily's face went white. Her lips parted like she wanted to argue, but nothing came out. That was when I stood. Slowly. Deliberately. The chair legs scraped across the floor, cutting through the thick silence. You don't touch her, I said. Aaron's grin faltered, just a flicker, but it was enough. He turned to me fully now, eyes burning. Or what? You gonna hit me, Danny boy? You finally gonna fight back? My chest tightened, but I didn't move closer. I just held his stare. Calm. Controlled. No. But I won't let you hurt her. Not again. Emily's breath caught. She looked at me, then at him, and for the first time she seemed to understand the truth. This wasn't going to be a peaceful dinner. This was a battlefield. And she had invited the enemy into her home. Aaron chuckled again, softer this time, but there was no humor left in it. Only menace. You think you're protecting her? You couldn't even protect yourself. Then, in one sudden motion, he swiped his arm across the table, sending glasses, cutlery, and candles crashing to the floor. The flames sputtered out, the wine spread wider, and the sound of breaking glass echoed through the house like thunder. Emily screamed. And in that moment, her face told the whole story. Regret, fear, and the dawning horror of realizing she had lit the match that set this fire. The crash of glass still rang in my ears when Aaron stepped back, chest heaving, eyes gleaming with something wild. The carefully built mask of charm and smirks was gone. What stood before us now was raw, ugly rage. The same face I remembered from countless nights when doors slammed, voices broke, and I prayed someone would finally believe me. Emily stood frozen, her hands clutched at her chest. The ruined dinner lay scattered across the floor, wine pooling like blood, silverware glinting under the dim light, the flowers she had so carefully arranged crushed beneath Aaron's boots. "Aaron, stop!" she cried, her voice cracking. "This isn't you." He whipped around, laughter sharp and jagged. "This isn't me. Oh, Emily, this has always been me. You just never wanted to see it." I took a step forward, my body tense. "That's enough," Aaron sneered. "Or what? You'll finally grow a backbone, Danny? You'll throw me out? You couldn't throw me out of a sandbox when we were kids." His words were venom, but his body told another story. He was pacing now, restless, one hand running through his hair while the other curled into a fist. The wine had loosened his tongue, but it had also ignited the temper simmering beneath the surface. Emily tried to move toward him, hands raised in a desperate attempt to calm him. "Please," she whispered. "I just wanted us to be together again. I wanted." "Wanted what?" he snapped, spinning on her so fast she flinched. "To play happy family? To pretend your perfect dinner could erase the truth? You think he jabbed a finger at me, was ever going to forgive me? You think he'd ever let go of the past?" Her lips trembled. I thought maybe." "You thought wrong," he spat, stepping closer until she was backed against the wall. "You always do." That was enough. I moved, closing the distance in a heartbeat, sliding between them before he could trap her any further. My voice was calm, but it cut through the chaos like steel. "You're done." Aaron's eyes narrowed, his jaw tightening. For a moment, I thought he'd swing at me. His fist twitched, his body coiled. The air was so heavy it felt like the whole house was holding its breath. Emily clutched my arm, her nails digging into my sleeve. Her whisper was raw and terrified. "Danny, what have I done?" I didn't answer, because the truth was too sharp, too cruel to say out loud. She had invited her abuser into her home. And now we were all paying the price. Aaron's fist hovered at his side, trembling with rage, but he didn't swing, yet. His eyes darted between me and Emily, wild and calculating, like a cornered animal deciding whether to attack or retreat. The silence stretched too long. Then he laughed, a sharp, humorless sound that cut through the air. "Look at this. The Golden Twins, reunited at last. Danny the savior, Emily the peacekeeper. What a joke." I didn't move. I kept myself between him and her, every muscle coiled but steady. Emily's voice cracked. "Aaron, please. Just leave. We can talk another time, but right now, you need to go." His head snapped toward her, his grin twisting cruel. "Leave? You think you can just dismiss me? Like I'm some stranger off the street?" He stepped forward, pointing at the shattered mess on the floor. I am this family. Without me, you're nothing. Both of you. You've got it backward, I said quietly. Without us, you're nothing. That's why you're here, because you've burned every other bridge. The words hit him harder than I expected. His face darkened, his chest heaving. For a second, I saw the boy he used to be, the one who needed power so badly he'd destroy anyone to feel it. Then the switch flipped. With a roar, he grabbed the edge of the table and heaved it sideways. Plates clattered to the floor, candles rolled, chairs toppled. Emily screamed and stumbled back, clutching the wall for support. I caught her before she slipped, holding her steady, my eyes never leaving him. Aaron stood there, chest heaving, face red, sweat beading at his temples. His voice dropped low, venomous. You think you're safe with him? He can't protect you. He never could. Ask him what happened when Enough. I barked, my voice louder than his for the first time. He froze. Not because he feared me, but because I wasn't the brother he remembered anymore. Emily buried her face against my shoulder, sobbing. Danny, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I didn't. But I knew. I'd always known. And now, finally, so did she. Aaron's smirk returned, faint but poisonous. Yeah. Cry to him. That's what you're good at, choosing the weak one. I stepped forward, forcing him back an inch. You need to leave. Now. For the first time that night, I saw hesitation flicker in his eyes. But hesitation wasn't surrender. And something told me he wasn't finished, not by a long shot. Aaron's hesitation lasted only a breath before he snarled and shoved a toppled chair out of his way. The wooden legs screeched against the floor, the sound jagged and grating. He stepped closer again, his shoulders squared, his grin gone. You think you can kick me out? His voice was low, dangerous now. This is my family. My blood. You don't get to erase me, Danny. And you, he jabbed a finger toward Emily. You don't get to betray me. Emily clung to my arm, her whole body trembling. Aaron, you need help. Please, just help. He snapped, cutting her off. You think I'm broken? That's rich, coming from the girl who cried on my shoulder every time Mom and Dad fought. You think you'd have survived without me? You owe me. Her knees buckled, and I caught her before she slid to the floor. Her sobs came harder now, raw and sharp. I looked at Aaron, my voice flat but firm. No one owes you anything. Not anymore. That lit a fuse. He lunged forward, and for a split second, I thought he'd hit me. But at the last second, he veered, grabbing one of the heavy candlesticks from the wrecked table. His knuckles whitened around it as he lifted it like a weapon. Emily screamed. I stepped forward, planting myself solid between him and her. My voice came out steady, ironclad. Put it down. Aaron's chest heaved. His eyes flicked from the candlestick to my face, searching for the old Daniel, the boy who used to flinch, to cower, to beg. But he didn't find him. Seconds stretched like hours. Then, slowly, I saw it, the flicker of doubt. The realization that his power wasn't landing anymore. He let out a harsh laugh, lowering the candlestick but not releasing it. You think this is over? You think one dinner makes you the hero? He turned his gaze to Emily, his voice low and venomous. He'll leave you too. Just like he left all of us. Emily shook her head violently, tears streaking her face. No. No. Aaron. The only one who's ever left me broken is you. For once, he had no immediate reply. Her words hit harder than anything I could have said. he sneered, covering the crack in his armor with bluster. "You'll regret this." Then, with one final shove, he sent the candlestick crashing onto the floor, the metal ringing through the house like a bell tolling the end. And without another word, he stormed toward the door. Emily collapsed into the chair behind her, sobbing so hard her shoulders shook. I stood there, chest heaving, eyes locked on the door Aaron had slammed behind him. But I knew in my gut, this wasn't finished. The silence, after the slam of the door, was deafening. No more taunts, no more laughter, no more threats, just the sound of Emily's sobs and the faint ticking of the clock on the wall. The house looked like a battlefield. Shards of glass glittered across the floor, the table sat crooked on its side, the wine stain spread like a bruise across the carpet. And in the middle of it all, Emily sat hunched, her face buried in her hands, trembling as if the air itself were too heavy to breathe. I crouched beside her, placing a hand gently on her shoulder. She flinched at first, then collapsed against me, her words tumbling out in broken gasps. "I'm sorry, Danny. I didn't know. God, I didn't know." I exhaled slowly, my hand steadying her even as my own chest felt tight. "You didn't want to know," I said softly. "That's the difference." She pulled back, her tear-streaked face pale. I thought he'd changed. I thought if we could just sit together, maybe things would be like before." "Before what?" I asked gently. "Before the lies? Before the bruises? Before the nights you cried yourself to sleep while pretending it was all fine?" Her eyes widened. She knew I was right. She had known it all along, buried under hope and denial. The weight of her mistake crushed her shoulders, but there was something else there too, clarity. For the first time, she wasn't excusing him, or minimizing him, or asking me to just let it go. She was seeing Aaron for who he truly was. We sat in silence for a long time. Eventually, she whispered, "I can't let him back in. Not again." I nodded. "You shouldn't. You can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved." Her sobs quieted. She wiped her face with shaking hands, her gaze falling to the wrecked room around us. "I thought I was fixing our family," she said, voice hollow. "But all I did was prove it's broken." I squeezed her shoulder gently. "Sometimes broken things aren't meant to be fixed. Sometimes you just walk away before the pieces cut you again." She nodded slowly, her eyes glassy but clear. I stood, surveying the wreckage one last time. The wine stains, the shattered glass, the toppled candles. It was a perfect picture of what Aaron always left behind. As I helped Emily to her feet, I felt something shift inside me. For years, I'd carried the weight of his shadow, the disbelief of my family, the silence that screamed louder than words. But now, at least one person finally saw the truth. Emily's voice was barely a whisper as we walked to the door together. "Thank you for staying." I met her eyes. "This time, I won't run. But he's not welcome in my life anymore. And he can't be in yours, either." Outside, the night was calm, the air cool against my skin. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was carrying it alone. Aaron was gone, for now. Maybe not forever, but long enough. And Emily. She had finally paid the price for inviting him back in. But maybe, just maybe, it was the price she needed to see the truth.